They called Rome the Eternal City, but beneath its marble forums and grand temples, another Rome existed, a hidden world of whispers, shadows, and forbidden desires. By day, senators debated laws under the blazing sun. By night, the wealthiest of them disappeared into secret sanctuaries carved deep beneath the city streets. Behind locked bronze doors and guarded passageways, rituals were performed that no historian dared record in full. These were not temples for the gods of the people, Jupiter, Mars, or Venus, but sanctuaries dedicated to older, darker forces. Whispers spoke of the Temple of Liber, where wine flowed endlessly, and worshippers shed not just their togas, but their very identities. Some claimed the Bacchanalia, wild festivals in honor of Bacchus, were nothing compared to what happened here. Others whispered of offerings made not in gold or incense, but in the surrender of body and soul. Few dared even speak of the cult of Cybele. Within its hidden chambers, devotees believed they could transcend their mortal flesh. Some historians hint cautiously at rites involving blood, ecstasy, and symbolic rebirth. For outsiders, these tales were dismissed as scandalous gossip, but Roman law itself banned several of these temples, and yet they continued, thriving in secret, protected by senators, generals, and even emperors. Every stone in Rome remembers, even if its people have forgotten. And if you stand near the ruins of the Palatine Hill at night, some claim you can still hear the faint echoes of chanting, voices invoking forgotten gods, calling for pleasure, power, and sacrifice. In this series, we descend into that hidden Rome, a city of forbidden temples, a city where politics, passion, and piety collided in ways few dared imagine, a city where, in the shadows, nothing was ever. At first, the Bacchanalia were innocent, or so Rome wanted to believe. Introduced from Greece, these secret rites honored Bacchus, the god of wine and ecstasy. But by the 2nd century BCE, whispers spread that the ceremonies had grown uncontrollable. Senators spoke of strange music echoing through the Aventine hills, of masked figures gathering after sunset, slipping into underground halls where torches burned low and shadows danced across painted walls. There, the boundaries between citizen and slave, senator and soldier, man and woman, dissolved. Some ancient writers describe nights where hundreds moved as one, chanting, swaying, offering wine to Bacchus, until reality blurred. It was not just drunkenness, it was transformation. A worshipper would close their eyes, abandon their name, their rank, their place in society, and surrender to something older, primal, and dangerous. Roman authorities panicked. In 186 BCE, the Senate launched a massive crackdown, claiming the rites threatened the Republic itself. Thousands were arrested, hundreds executed, and yet the Bacchanalia survived. Why? Because power protected them. The wealthy craved what could not be found elsewhere: forbidden knowledge, forbidden pleasure, forbidden power. The temples went deeper underground, literally. Some were hidden beneath private villas, their entrances disguised as storerooms or wine cellars. Inside, silence ruled. No one spoke names, faces were masked, oil lamps glimmered against frescoes showing wild hunts, sacred serpents, and ancient gods long erased from Roman religion. Here, time itself seemed to stop. For the uninitiated, the Bacchanalia were chaos, but for the devoted, they were liberation. They believed that only by breaking every boundary of law, of morality, even of identity, could they touch the divine. And yet, the deeper one descended, the darker the rites became. There were whispers of offerings Rome's historians dared not describe. This was no longer worship, this was transcendence, at any cost. His Bacchus promised ecstasy. Cybele demanded sacrifice. Brought from the east, she was called the Magna Mater, the Great Mother. Her cult was unlike anything Rome had known, and even the Senate approached it with fear. The temples of Cybele were built where the city ended and the wild began, on wind-swept cliffs or deep within sacred groves. At night, the pounding of drums and the wail of flutes carried across the hills, luring the curious and warning them to stay away. Initiation was not for the faint of heart. Ancient accounts speak of masked priests, their bodies painted in crimson, leading the chosen into chambers lit only by oil lamps. Statues of Cybele loomed above them, a goddess crowned with towers, lions crouching at her feet, her gaze carved in eternal command. And then the rite began. The beating of drums grew faster, flutes screamed, the air filled with incense so thick it blurred the senses. The devotees danced until their bodies no longer obeyed them, until sweat and tears mixed on their skin. And then, at the height of frenzy, came the taurobolium, the sacred baptism of blood. The chosen stood beneath a wooden grate. Above, a great bull, symbol of power, virility, and life itself, was sacrificed. As the animal fell, its blood rained down upon the initiate, soaking their skin, their robes, their very breath. To the Romans, this was madness. To the faithful, it was rebirth. They believed that only by dying symbolically, drowned in the lifeblood of the bull, could one awaken as a servant of the Great Mother. But there were whispers of deeper secrets, of priests who went further than blood, of acts of devotion so extreme that even Rome's historians dared not write them down. The cult of Cybele thrived in silence. Its members walked Rome's streets like everyone else, senators, merchants, soldiers. But in the temples, they were bound by a power older than empire itself. And for those who entered the deepest sanctuaries, there was no turning back. Beneath the bustling streets of ancient Rome, hidden from the eyes of the uninitiated, lay the Mitrea, secret temples, carved into stone. To step inside was to leave the empire behind and enter another world, one of shadow, fire, and silent vows. The cult of Mithras came from the east, but in Rome it became the fate of soldiers, generals, and spies. It was whispered that no emperor truly ruled without the favor of Mithras. Even today, beneath churches and palaces, archaeologists still find his sanctuaries, narrow chambers lined with benches, dimly lit by oil lamps, and at the far end, the eternal image of Mithras slaying the cosmic bull. The rites were shrouded in secrecy. Only men were allowed. The initiates were divided into 7 ranks, from the humble raven to the exalted father. Each stage brought them closer to forbidden knowledge, to truths too dangerous for common ears. Initiation was a trial of body and soul. Some were blindfolded and led through underground corridors filled with smoke and chanting. Others stood bare-chested before roaring fires, the heat scorching their skin as priests recited oaths in forgotten tongues. At the heart of it all was the tauroctony, the sacred act where Mithras, in eternal stone reliefs, plunged his dagger into the great bull. Blood poured out, not to destroy, but to create life anew. It symbolized the endless struggle between darkness and light, chaos and order, a promise that the faithful would be reborn into cosmic truth. Outside these walls, Rome worshipped many gods, but within the Mitrea, men swore allegiance to one brotherhood above all else. Here, senators sat beside slaves, soldiers beside merchants, all equal in the shadows, all bound by their oath. And yet, there were whispers that the cult hid more than it revealed. Some claimed the highest initiates possessed secrets about the origins of the world, secrets the Senate feared could unravel Rome itself. The deeper you went, the harder it became to leave. For those who passed the seventh gate, there was no return. Not far from the forum, hidden behind marble colonnades and guarded by silence, stood the temples of Venus, sanctuaries of desire where power and passion intertwined. To the common people, they were sacred places of fertility and love, but for Rome's elite, they were gateways to forbidden pleasures. At dusk, the wealthy patricians arrived in cloaked litters, their faces veiled, their footsteps hushed. Inside, the air was heavy with frankincense and myrrh, mingling with the distant echo of flutes. Oil lamps bathed the marble walls in a soft golden glow, casting shadows that danced like restless spirits. These nights were invitation only. Senators, generals, poets, even high priestesses, all drawn together in secret. The ceremonies began solemnly with hymns to Venus Genetrix, the goddess who birthed life itself. But as the night deepened, so did the rituals. The priestesses moved like living statues, draped in sheer silks that revealed as much as they concealed. They whispered prayers no outsider was ever allowed to hear. And when the sacred wine, the so-called blood of Venus, was poured, reality dissolved into something else entirely. It was said that those who drank it became part of the goddess' breath, their senses heightened, their fears dissolved. Boundaries between flesh and divinity blurred, lovers and strangers alike became vessels of Venus's will, and for a single night, Rome belonged to desire. But such indulgence came with danger. Outside these walls, morality was strict, and whispers of sacrilege could destroy reputations, even lives. Yet the more forbidden it became, the more desperately the elite returned, convinced they touched something divine in these hidden rites. Historians still debate what truly happened in these chambers. Some call it decadence, others call it transcendence. Perhaps it was both. For those who entered, it wasn't just pleasure they sought, it was escape, liberation from Rome's endless weight of duty, hierarchy, and control. And so, beneath the veneer of order, Rome pulsed with a secret life. In its temples and shadowed halls, the empire's most powerful men and women surrendered to the one god who ruled them all, desire.